The moment that shattered my life happened between the potato salad and the chocolate cake. It was such an ordinary Sunday, our annual end of summer BBQ, the kind of gathering we'd hosted dozens of times before in our perfect suburban home. Kids splashed in the pool, neighbors chatted over beer and burgers, and my famous deviled eggs disappeared from their platter. I was in the kitchen, pulling another batch of cookies from the oven, when Tom touched my shoulder. Need to check something in the garage, honey. Back in a minute. 15 years of marriage, and I still love the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. I handed him a warm cookie, chocolate chip, his favorite, and went back to hosting. If I'd known it was the last normal moment we'd ever share, maybe I would have paid more attention. Maybe I would have noticed something off in his voice, in the way his hand slightly trembled as he took the cookie. But I didn't notice. I just kept playing the role of perfect hostess, perfect wife, perfect life. It wasn't until an hour later that I realized Tom hadn't returned. His phone went straight to voicemail. The garage was empty. His car, gone. Our guest started giving me those looks, part pity, part curiosity, as I made increasingly strained excuses for his absence. Probably had to run to the store, I said brightly, serving dessert with slightly shaking hands. You know how quickly we go through ice at these things. But Tom hadn't gone for ice. When he finally returned 2 hours later, he wasn't alone. Two serious-looking men in suits flanked him, and Tom, my Tom, who'd never looked anything less than perfectly put together, seemed to have aged a decade in those 2 hours. Karen, he said, using my full name instead of his usual Care. We need to talk. Inside. The detectives introduced themselves, but their names washed over me in a blur. I was too focused on Tom's face, on the strange mix of relief and terror I saw there. Mrs. Mitchell, one detective began, then paused. Though I understand that may not actually be your legal name. What? I laughed, but it sounded hollow, even to my ears. Of course it's my legal name. I've been Karen Mitchell since I married Tom 15 years ago. Ma'am, the other detective said gently, your husband's name isn't Tom Mitchell. According to our records, Thomas Mitchell died in 1985 at age 3 in a house fire in Ohio. The room started spinning. I gripped the kitchen counter, my knuckles white. Through our window, I could see our guests still mingling in the backyard, could hear children's laughter from the pool. How could everything look so normal when my world was imploding? This is ridiculous, I said. Tom, tell them. Tell them this is some kind of mistake. But Tom, or whoever he was, just pulled out a chair for me. You should sit down, Karen. There's more. More? God, how could there be more? Your husband's real name is Daniel Cooper, the first detective continued. Until today, he's been a person of interest in an ongoing federal investigation involving corporate espionage, identity theft, and approximately $30 million in missing funds. I sat heavily in the chair, my legs no longer able to support me. Corporate espionage. Tom's an insurance adjuster. He works for Midwest Life and Casualty. He brings home paperwork every night. I see him working. Midwest Life and Casualty doesn't exist, Tom, Daniel said softly. It's a shell company. The paperwork, the office downtown, the Christmas parties you attended. It was all elaborate staging. The cookies I baked earlier sat forgotten on the counter, growing cold. I stared at them, focusing on their chocolate chips melting into dark pools. Because if I looked at them, I wouldn't have to look at the stranger wearing my husband's face. Why are you telling me this now? I managed to ask. After 15 years, why today? The detectives exchanged glances. Because this morning, Mr. Cooper came to us voluntarily with evidence that could crack a case we've been building for nearly 2 decades. Evidence that implicates some very powerful people in a scheme that goes far beyond just him. I couldn't do it anymore, Tom, Daniel said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. The guilt, the lies, watching you trust me completely while I betrayed that trust every day. When Tommy was born 7 years ago. Don't, I cut him off. Don't you dare talk about our son right now. But he continued, his voice breaking. When Tommy was born, something changed. I started looking for a way out, a way to make things right. It took years to gather enough evidence to ensure you and Tommy would be protected when the truth came out. Protected? I laughed bitterly. You call this protected? Our entire life is a lie. Not our life, he insisted. Not our love. Not our family. The circumstances were false. But what we built together, that's real. That's why I chose today to come forward. I looked at him blankly. What's special about today? The people I've been gathering evidence against, they're here, right now, at our BBQ. My head snapped up. Through the window, I could see our guests still milling around. The Hendersons from next door, Tommy's teacher, Mrs. Garcia, my best friend, Rachel, and her husband. Who? I whispered. I can't tell you yet, he said. But in about 20 minutes, more officers will arrive. There will be arrests. I needed you to hear the truth from me first, to understand why this is happening. And he hesitated, to know that despite everything else, the love is real, has always been real. As if on cue, Tommy's laugh rang out from the backyard. Our son, who had his father's eyes, or did he? Was anything about our life actually true? The detectives were talking about protective custody, about witness protection programs, about new identities. The irony of that last one wasn't lost on me, but I could barely hear them over the roaring in my ears. I need a minute, I said, standing abruptly. Just 1 minute to process. I walked to our family room, where photos of our life together covered the walls, our wedding day, Tommy's birth, family vacations, candid moments of everyday joy. I studied Tom's, Daniel's, face in each one, looking for signs I'd missed, clues that should have told me I was living with a stranger. But all I saw was the man I loved, the man who brought me coffee every morning, who taught our son to ride a bike, who still left little love notes in my purse. A man who was both real and fictional, true and false, mine and not mine. Through the window, I saw black SUVs quietly pulling up to our house. Men in tactical gear were taking positions around the perimeter of our yard. Our perfect suburban BBQ was about to become a crime scene. And somehow, that wasn't even the most shocking part of my day. I watched through the window as our annual BBQ transformed into something out of a crime thriller. The tactical team moved with practiced precision, silently surrounding our backyard. Our guests continued their casual conversations, completely unaware that their Sunday afternoon was about to implode. Mrs. Mitchell, one of the detectives, started. Is that even my real name? I interrupted. Or am I somehow caught up in this lie too? You're Karen Sullivan Mitchell, Tom, Daniel said quietly. That part of you is real. I never changed your identity. I couldn't bring myself to make you complicit in my lies. How noble of him, I thought bitterly. A fraud with principles. Suddenly, Tommy came running into the kitchen, his swim trunks dripping water on our hardwood floors. Dad, Rachel's husband, is acting weird. He's trying to leave, but Rachel keeps saying, Go back outside, buddy, Tom said quickly, his entire demeanor shifting. Stay with Mrs. Garcia, okay? Don't go near Uncle Steve. Uncle Steve, Rachel's husband of 20 years, my best friend's college sweetheart, who had been present for every major moment of our lives, who was now trying to make a subtle exit through our side gate. It's starting, Tom told the detectives. Steve must have recognized one of your men. The next few minutes exploded into chaos. I heard shouts from the backyard, followed by Rachel's scream. Through the window, I saw Steve throw a patio chair into the pool, creating a diversion as he sprinted toward the fence. 2 officers tackled him before he could make it. More arrests followed. The Hendersons, our next-door neighbors for a decade, were led away in handcuffs. Mr. Patterson, Tommy's soccer coach, was found hiding in our garden shed with a phone he'd apparently tried to destroy. Rachel collapsed on our patio furniture, sobbing as she watched her husband being read his rights. I wanted to go to her, but my own shock kept me frozen in place. They were all part of it? I whispered. Tom nodded grimly. A network of stolen identities, shell corporations, and laundered money. Steve was actually the one who recruited me back before I met you. He helped me create the Tom Mitchell identity. Did Rachel know? No, he said firmly. She's as much a victim as you are. Maybe more. She's been living with Steve's lies for 20 years. Outside, more police cars arrived. Our quiet cul-de-sac looked like a crime scene, which I supposed it now was. Neighbors from surrounding houses were coming out to gawk. Our perfect suburban facade was well and truly shattered. I need you to understand something, Tom said, turning to face me fully. Everything I did before meeting you, the identity theft, the money laundering, all of it. I'm guilty. I'll be pleading guilty. But meeting you changed everything. Loving you, having Tommy, it made me want to be the man you thought I was." "How generous of you to decide that after 15 years," I said coldly. "7 years," he corrected, "since Tommy was born. That's how long I've been gathering evidence, documenting transactions, building a case strong enough to protect you and Tommy from any fallout. Everything in your name, the house, your accounts, Tommy's college fund, it's all clean money. I made sure of that." One of the detectives cleared his throat. "Mr. Cooper's cooperation has been extensive. His evidence will help us prosecute some very powerful people. In exchange, we're offering witness protection for all of you. All of you, me, Tommy, the man I both knew completely and didn't know at all." "What about our life here?" I asked. "Tommy's school, my job at the library, our friends." I glanced out at Rachel, still crying on our patio. "What's left of them, anyway?" "We can't stay," Tom said gently. "Some of the people involved haven't been arrested yet. People with resources and long memories. We need to disappear." Disappear, like he'd done to Thomas Mitchell all those years ago. Like he'd done to Daniel Cooper when he became my husband. Now it was my turn to vanish, to become someone new. "When?" "Tonight," the detective said. "We have a safe house ready. You'll have 30 minutes to pack essentials once the scene is secure. Nothing traceable, no phones, no computers, no bank cards." I looked around our kitchen, at the cookies cooling on the rack, the family photos on the fridge, the height marks penciled on the doorframe showing Tommy's growth. 15 years of life reduced to 30 minutes of packing. "Karen," Tom said softly, reaching for my hand again. This time, I let him take it. "I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But everything that matters, our love, our family, the life we built, that's all real. The names might change, but we'll still be us." "Will we?" I asked. "Because I don't know who you are. I don't know who I am anymore, either. You're the woman who reads Tommy 3 stories every night, even when he begs for a fourth. You're the person who remembers everyone's birthdays and bakes them special cakes. You're the wife who still leaves silly jokes in my lunchbox. That's who you are. That's who you'll always be, no matter what name you're using." Outside, the arrests were complete. Our yard had emptied except for law enforcement. Tommy was sitting with a female officer who appeared to be distracting him with magic tricks. My son's life had already changed forever, and he didn't even know it yet. "We should tell Tommy together," I said finally. "He should hear it from both of us." Tom's eyes filled with tears, the first I'd seen since this began. "Does that mean?" "It means I'm not making any decisions right now except what's best for our son. The rest," I looked at our joined hands. "The rest we'll figure out one day at a time." The detective's radio crackled. "Scene is secure. Clock starts now. 30 minutes to pack up a life. 30 minutes to say goodbye to everything familiar. 30 minutes until Karen Mitchell ceased to exist." "Ready?" Tom asked. I wasn't. Not even close. But as I watched Tommy laughing at the officer's magic trick, I realized something. The man beside me might have built our life on lies, but he'd chosen to tear it all down to protect us. Maybe that counted for something. "Let's get our son," I said. "We have a lot to tell him." And somewhere between the lies and the truth, between who we were and who we'd become, I hoped we'd find our way back to what mattered most. The love that had been real all along. 6 months later, I stood in a different kitchen, in a different state, with different colored hair and a different last name, watching a different pot of coffee brew. Except it wasn't really different. I still made it the same way Tom liked it, strong, with a hint of cinnamon. We were the Camerons now. Sarah, David, and Tyler Cameron from Minneapolis, relocated to a small town in Oregon for work opportunities. Our new house was smaller than our old one, but it had a view of mountains instead of manicured suburban lawns. Tommy, now Tyler, had adapted with the resilience only a 7-year-old could muster, though he sometimes still slipped and called us by our old names. The morning paper lay on the counter, its headline announcing the convictions of several prominent business figures in a massive financial fraud case. The names were familiar. They'd been our neighbors, our friends, the people we'd shared holidays and backyard BBQs with. The article didn't mention Tom's testimony, but his evidence had been the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. "Anything interesting in the news?" Tom asked, coming into the kitchen. He looked different now, too. Beard, glasses, hair a shade darker. but his eyes still crinkled the same way when he smiled. Just more fallout, I said, sliding him a cup of coffee. Rachel filed for divorce. He nodded slowly. How did you find that out? The marshals told me. She's been trying to contact me through official channels. Wants to apologize. To explain that she really didn't know. Do you believe her? I thought about my best friend of 15 years. About all our shared secrets and late-night conversations. Yes, I said finally. I do. But we can't. I know, he said quietly. No contact. Not ever. That was the hardest part of our new life. The complete severance from our old one. No social media, no email, no Christmas cards. The people we'd been had to stay dead. Tommy came bounding into the kitchen, already dressed for school. Mom, Dad, can Jimmy come over after school? His mom said it's okay. I exchanged a quick look with Tom. We'd been cautious about playdates, about letting people get too close. But the marshals had cleared Jimmy's family and Tommy needed normal. Sure, buddy, Tom said. But remember. I know, Tommy said, rolling his eyes with practiced exasperation. No talking about our old house or my old name or anything from before. I'm Tyler Cameron, and I've always been Tyler Cameron. My heart squeezed. Sometimes I forgot how much we were asking of him. How many lies we needed him to maintain. After Tommy left for school, Tom and I sat at our new kitchen table, drinking coffee and pretending this was just another normal morning. The marshals say the last of the network was arrested yesterday, he said carefully. Some banker in Switzerland. They think that's the end of it. Is it ever really the end? No, he admitted. But it's safer now than it was. In a few years, maybe we could. Could what? Go back? Be the Mitchells again. I shook my head. Those people don't exist anymore. He reached across the table, taking my hand. A gesture that had once been automatic but now felt deliberate, earned. I know I destroyed our old life. I know I can never fully make that right. But this life, it doesn't have to be just hiding. We can build something real here. We already are. He was right. Despite everything, we were building something. Tommy had friends at his new school. I'd started teaching part-time at the local library. Tom was working as a consultant from home. Legitimate work this time, vetted by the marshals. We had dinner together every night, helped with homework, watched movies on the weekends. Normal family things, just with different names. I found something yesterday, I said, getting up to retrieve a box from the cupboard. While unpacking that last box from storage. Inside was a cookie recipe card, stained and well used. The last batch of cookies I'd made on that Sunday when everything changed. Your chocolate chip cookies, Tom smiled, then hesitated. Though I suppose they were Daniel Cooper's favorite, not Tom Mitchell's. That's just it, I said, sitting back down. When I saw this card, I realized something. You might have lied about your name, your past, your job. But you never lied about loving these cookies. About how you take your coffee. About the way you read Tommy's favorite book in different voices, or how you always kiss me goodbye, even if you're just going to the mailbox. Those things were always real, he said softly. Are still real. I know. And maybe that's what matters most. Not the names or the past, but the small truths that make up a life together. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Tommy's teacher about the upcoming science fair. Such a normal, mundane thing. 6 months ago, I would have shared it with Rachel, planned how our kids could work together. Now I shared it with Tom, and we talked about helping Tommy build a volcano. And somehow, that was okay too. Sarah, Tom said, using my new name deliberately. Are we okay? I looked at my husband, this man I knew intimately and was still getting to know. This man who had lied about everything except what mattered most. We're getting there, I said honestly. Day by day. He nodded, understanding what I wasn't saying. That trust, like our new identities, had to be built carefully. That love, even when real, sometimes needed to be rediscovered. I'm going to make these cookies today, I decided, holding up the recipe card. For Tommy's playdate with Jimmy. Tyler, Tom corrected gently. Tyler, I agreed. But they'll still taste the same. And that was our new life in a nutshell. Old truths in new packaging, familiar love with different names, a family rebuilding itself one chocolate chip cookie at a time. The past might have been built on lies, but the future, that we could build on truth. Even if it was truth under new names, in a new town with new stories to tell. Sometimes I've learned love is less about who you were and more about who you choose to be together. And maybe that's the most honest thing of all.